and a deep devotion to public service. Affectionately, we called him the Asumdwe Hene, and we all hope to live up to his example as the King of Peace. It is in that spirit of unity and civility that we are gathered here today to pay tribute to him and his memory. Professor Mills was more than a head of state. He was a teacher, he was a statesman, a sportsman, a visionary leader, and a deeply compassionate and patriotic Ghanaian. He was marked by calm conviction in everything that he did, and he had an unwavering commitment to leadership and development. From the lecture halls of Legon to the corridors of power, he stood out as a man who lived by principle and governed with heart. And so this afternoon, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is a pleasure, a privilege, and an honor to stand here as I steer the affairs in this commemorative lecture, which I'm sure will all be marked with lots of wisdom and profound teachings from our keynote speaker. This year's lecture will be thought-provoking and impactful, and I'm sure that we will all walk away from this hall with much to ponder over. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, before we continue with the program, we will take a word of prayer, and I would like to invite Reverend Dr. Lawrence Tete to do the honors. Please welcome him with a round of applause.
Your Excellency, the Vice President, ladies and gentlemen, many years ago, I had the privilege of preaching at the Methodist Crusade where His Excellency John Evans Atta Mills was the special guest of honor. And I sang a song. When we finished, he asked me to sing it again. And this is the way it goes. We are going, heaven knows where we are going. We know we will. We will get there. Heaven knows how we will get there. We know we will. It will be hard, we know, and the road will be muddy and rough, but we'll get there. Heaven knows how we will get there. We know. We are going. Heaven knows where we are going. We know within. It will be hard, we know. The road will be muddy and rough, but we will get there. It will be hard, we know. And the road will be muddy and rough, but we'll get there. Argument and we know the play. Another play. It is enough. Him. Even as we honor him today, let every message and anything that is done here be done in that spirit of his, that is spirit of peace, to your glory. We also use this time to pray for His Excellency John Dramani Mahama and the Vice President, that you guide them and protect them and let them stay under your wings. And like the word of God says, he that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. I will say of the Lord, He is my refuge and my fortress. In Him will I trust. May the Lord bless you and keep you, and let us enjoy ourselves as we celebrate the memory of this great memory of this great son of Ghana. And as I leave, the Son, and give Him the great thing. God bless you. Please take your seats.
Thank you very much, and another round of applause for Reverend Dr. Lawrence Tete. Your Excellency, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, our venue for today's commemorative lecture is the University of Professional Studies here in Accra. Now, for those who are joining us either listening on radio, you can hear us on 100.5 Accra FM, on Class FM, that's 91.3 FM. We're also live on Wezo TV. So for those who have joined us who could not be here present, thank you for joining us for today's lecture. And as we are here at UPSA, our landlord for today will now give us his welcome address. Please help me welcome with a warm round of applause Professor John K. Mensah Mauto, the Vice Chancellor of UP.
Members of the diplomatic corps,
advantage, but by the quiet strength of his convictions. Every decision, every policy, every engagement with the people of Ghana reflected a consciousness that he was accountable not only to the electorate, but ultimately to God. And from where I observed our former president, at the center of his leadership was a complete demonstration of the fear of God. Her Excellency, Vice President, please permit me to cite one of his numerous quotes. The presidency is not about power, but it is about service. Grounded in integrity, truth, and love for one's neighbor. To our young people gathered here today, the future leaders of Ghana, let the life of President Mills offer a profound lesson that leadership is not just about ambition or achievement, but about purpose rooted in moral clarity. President Mills was a teacher, a mentor, a scholar, and above all, a servant leader whose deep faith guided his public service and private life. Indeed, this lecture is not simply a moment of remembrance. It's a call to reflect, to renew our commitment to God-fearing, people-centered leadership, and to rekindle the values of peace, tolerance, and nationality with unity virtues, which he both lived and preached. As a university, Her Excellency, we are privileged today to host speakers who will provoke thought and challenge our conscience. Just as President Mills would have wished, let us listen not only with our minds, but with our spirits. To the J.E.A. Mills Memorial Heritage, the organizing committee, our university partners, and especially our students here gathered and young professionals, thank you for keeping this vision alive. Your presence here today testifies that the memory of President Mills is not fading, rather is becoming a moral compass for our nation. Once again, on behalf of the chairman of the council, I welcome you all to this special lecture. May we always remember that at the heart of the leadership must be the fear of God. Thank you, and God richly bless us.
Yes, please do keep the applause going for Professor Mauto, Vice Chancellor of UPSA, our venue for today's program. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, as you look around the auditorium, it's quite apparent that there are many notable dignitaries who have made it here for today's lecture. We'll do our very best to acknowledge as many of you as possible, but please permit me to acknowledge the following distinguished personalities who are here with us today. Once again, I would like to say a big thank you to Her Excellency Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman, the Vice President, for being our guest of honor for today. Thank you very much, Your Excellency. I'd also like to acknowledge the Chief of Staff, Honorable Julius Deborah. Thank you very much for being here once again. The indefatigable chairman of the National Democratic Congress, Johnson Asiedio Nketia, is here. I also see that we have been joined by the Speaker of Parliament, the Right Honorable Alban Bagbin. If you would please, thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. The General Secretary of the National Democratic Congress is also here, Honorable Fifi Kwete. Our keynote speaker for today, Madam Charlotte Osei. Once again, it's a pleasure to have you here. The Chief of Staff of the Vice President, Honorable Alex Segbefia. Thank you very much for being here, Honorable. Deputy Chief of Staff, Honorable Nana Oye Bampoado, excuse me. Honorable, pardon me. And thank you for being here with us. We have many distinguished, seasoned elders with us as well. We have members of the Council of State, we have members of the Council of Elders, And again, we'll do our best to acknowledge as many of them as possible. Honorable ATTA Ahoy is here. And if you could please give us a wave. Honorable Kwame Pepra, Professor Kwame Ahoy, Honorable Kofi Totobi Kwache, Honorable Kofi Atto, Ambassador Kwesi Ahoy, Madam Faustina Nelson, Honorable Kenneth Wujanji, Mr. Eddie Annan, Mr. Kakra Esuma, Asamoah, thank you very much. Honorable George Sipayanki, Honorable Johnson Asidu Nkesia, we've mentioned him already. Honorable Ni Lante Vanderpoel is also here. Honorable Betty Mold Idrisu, Honorable Kwabena Dufour, Madam Sati Okran. We also have Honorable Samuel Okujeto Ablakwa here with us. And we have in our midst the French Ambassador, His Excellency Jules Armand Agnon-Bossou. Thank you very much for joining us, Your Excellency, as well. And we'll continue to make those acknowledgements as we go on with the program. Thank you very, very much. And now, Your Excellency, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I will invite Honorable Nana Oyebampo-Addo to introduce our chairperson for today's occasion. Please welcome her with a round of applause.
Good afternoon. Your Excellency, the Vice President of the Republic of Ghana, Professor Nana Jane Opoku Agyeman, our Right Honorable Speaker of Parliament, Right Honorable Alban Bagbin, the National Chairman of the National Democratic Congress, General Asiedu Nketia, the General Secretary of the National Democratic Congress, Honorable Fifi Kwete, Honorable Cabinet Ministers, elder statespersons, the Vice Chancellor of the University, UPSA, Nananom, Nime, Name, ladies and gentlemen, and students and the youth. I'm here to introduce my boss, the Chief of Staff of the Republic of Ghana, Mr. Julius Debra, a leading Ghanaian public servant and students and the youth. I'm here to introduce my boss, the Chief of Staff of the Republic of Ghana, Mr. Julius Debra, a public servant widely recognized for his impactful tenure as Chief of Staff to the President of the Republic of Ghana. With a unique background, blending deep expertise in cultural heritage, a dynamic entrepreneurial spirit, and extensive experience in governance, Mr. Debra has consistently brought innovative perspectives and pragmatic leadership to national development challenges. He is a consummate public servant and visionary. His career journey exemplifies a commitment to leveraging diverse skills for the betterment of our dear Ghana. In terms of his early life and foundations, he was born on 24th of April, 1966 in Suhum, Eastern Region. He received his early education in Suhum before attending Impriso Secondary School and Achimota School for his O and A levels. Rather than proceeding immediately to the university, he embarked on an entrepreneurial path after Achimota School, a decision that profoundly shaped his practical skills and his leadership style. He was driven by passion for cultural preservation and study, and so he pursued his higher education at the University of Ghana and earned a Bachelor of Arts degree in archaeology and sociology in 2005. He further deepened his expertise with a Master of Arts degree in archaeology and specialized in museums and heritage studies. He is currently seeking a Doctor of Philosophy in the same field at the University of Ghana. This reflects his lifelong dedication to learning and cultural scholarship. In terms of his entrepreneurial acumen and his tourism pioneer, Mr. Debra's professional journey began in the early 1990s in the tourism sector. He trained under a Ministry of Tourism UNDP initiative and quickly established himself as a pioneering certified tour operator. He founded the Runel Express, one of Ghana's major tour companies, and led several expeditions across West Africa. He had an innovative approach, which he extended to promoting Ghana's tourism internationally. Parallel to his tourism ventures, Mr. Debra demonstrated a strong entrepreneurial spirit and became a founding partner and director of the Royal Derby Group of companies and successfully built businesses across various sectors. These include hospitality, microfinance, vehicle inspection, real estate, media, and manufacturing. This broad private sector experience equipped him with invaluable insights into operational efficiency and strategic growth. He spearheaded significant institutional transformation as the CEO of the Ghana Tourist Board, a position and appointment that was given to him by President John Evans Atta Mills of blessed memory. He championed the establishment of the Tourism Development Fund and significantly expanded the popular Kwewu Paragliding Festival into the broader Kwewu Easter Festival. His effectiveness led him to receive further appointments by President John Dramani Mahama. And so in 2013, he was appointed as Eastern Regional Minister and later as Greater Accra Regional Minister before becoming Eastern Regional Minister again and the only individual to hold both regional portfolios within a 2-year period. This demonstrated his exceptional capacity and his adaptability. In June 2014, he was elevated to Minister of Local Government and Rural Development. He oversaw the implementation of the street naming and property address system and piloted affordable housing schemes directly impacting urban development and service delivery. Mr. Julius Debra as Chief of Staff at the helm of government operations. In February 2015, Mr. Debra was appointed Chief of Staff, assuming the critical role as the topmost official in the Mahama presidency. This demanding position placed him right at the heart of government operations. He was responsible for managing the President's office, coordinating policy implementation, ensuring interagency collaboration, and driving the NDC government's agenda. His tenure focused on enhancing institutional efficiency, streamlining processes within the presidency, and ensuring effective delivery of government programs. He drew on his diverse background. He brought a pragmatic, results-oriented approach to the highest level of public administration. Following his tenure as Chief of Staff, Mr. Debra continued to play a significant advisory role and served as Senior Advisor to John Dramani Mahama during his period in opposition. He was instrumental in mobilizing working groups that shaped the National Democratic's 2020 and 2024 manifestos. His enduring influence and organizational expertise were further evident in his role as co-chair of the presidential transition teams in both 2016 and 2024. In 2025, President John Dramani Mahama, upon assuming office for his second term, reappointed Julius Deborah as his chief of staff. Julius Deborah is widely respected for his humility, his deep cultural roots, his high emotional intelligence, his pragmatic leadership. His unique career trajectory from heritage tourism, entrepreneurship to executive statecraft symbolizes a commitment to service that effectively bridges traditional values with modern governance. He is married and a proud, devoted father of 4. His career stands as a testament to humility and the power of diverse experience in shaping effective public leadership. Ladies and gentlemen, your chairman and my boss, Mr. Julius Deborah.
Thank you. Your Excellency, the Vice President of the Republic, the Right Honorable Speaker, the Chairman, Directors, and Eminent Advisory Council of the John Evans Atta Mills Memorial Heritage, our seasoned headline speaker, Madam Charlotte Osei, friends from the media, and distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Nananom, you're all welcome. I am honored to be asked to chair this year's anniversary lecture in memory of the immortal principles, ideals, and ideologies of an illustrious son, one of Africa's great, His Excellency John Evans Fifi Atta Mills, the 11th in the line of Ghana's presidents. His Excellency, the late president, would have been 81 years this year, and Ghana, on the other hand, has celebrated her 68th independence this year also. Now, these numbers must summon a lot of interesting reflections concerning the fact that a Ghanaian pensioner retires at the age of 60, and the average life expectancy in Ghana is about 66 years. Put differently, Ghana would have been reflecting on the progress she has made 8 years on after going into retirement, and 13 years after the loss of an illustrious son. Since the untimely and painful loss of our national gem, Professor John Evans Atta Mills, our nation continues to relive his extraordinary good works and impact on national governance. Let me share a few with you. During the launch of the J.E.A. Mills Memorial Heritage in 2022, the then former president, now President of the Republic, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, eulogized the economic stability that this country experienced under the hand of the former tax expert. He described his former boss, J.E.A. Mills, as having achieved an unprecedented economic growth of 14%. This including both the oil and non-oil sectors. Here we learn that the leadership style of the late Professor Mills contributed significantly to our economic fortunes. During the 2022 launch also, the chairman of the J.A. Mills Memorial Heritage, Mr. Alex Segbefia, stated the principles and values that the former president stood for, which this legacy lecture seeks to include or inculcate in our people. They are passion, excellence, integrity, inclusivity, accountability, commitment, and humility. Talking about his humility, let me share a personal experience with you. So one day I got a call from Uncle Beba Kumensa, who said, Julius, Prof, the Opasor Eastern Region as regional minister, Etifao CV Bremi. Then I went to see Uncle Beb with my CV. Now, there was supposed to be an announcement on one particular day after the independence celebration. So I was so excited, I had dressed in my white, seated on my bed, waiting for the announcement. Unfortunately, when the announcement came, my name was omitted. I felt very sad. Then, to my surprise and amazement, if a president tells you he will do something for you, and for a reason or two he's not able to do it, I don't think he owes you an apology. One morning, my phone rang, and when I picked it, it was Honorable Sam ATTA. So I picked it as Uncle Sam and said, Julius, hold on for the president. I said, yes, sir. And Prof was like, Julius, ma today I didn't know see now how pa. And I said, oh, but I'm managing, sir. I said, Julius, most your band no, me nipa ni nyina, I won't continue to be a better mercy. And that's why I drop your name. And today, I still think about it. Does the president owe an ordinary person like me an apology? That is the level of his humility. As destiny may have it, a few months down the line, President Mahama fulfilled the promise President ATTA gave me by making me the Eastern Regional Minister. Ladies and gentlemen, you would agree that these lessons carved from the unique stories of distinguished personalities and many more are needed in our current day leadership and political governance. It is why today our President, John Dramani Mahama, and other like-minded men and women of honor are working so hard to reset Ghana. Therefore, the theme for this year's commemoration, ATTA, a case study for the Fourth Republic, is an opportune reflection on the importance of principles, identity, and responsive leadership and transformational legacies. Your Excellencies, every now and then, when we go down our knees and thank God for keeping our peace and oneness as a people, we must extend this thanksgiving to the loving memory of President ATTA. The late president is not only celebrated as leader of high moral standards and patriotism, but also one with an exceptional level of tolerance and respect for dissenting opinions. His love for peace and stability translated into how he handled disagreement and the politics of divisiveness during the time. The title Asumdwehini is a lasting description of the role ATTA of blessed memory played in consolidating our peace, stability, and unity as a people, despite our volatile multi-party landscape. Distinguished audience, from the Asumdwe title given to the late president, to a seasoned task scholar, and to a virtuous leader descriptions of the late president, one can only love, appreciate, admire Professor John ATTA. One cannot but miss him on his 81st birthday. Every year, we are fortunate that this commemorative lecture presents us the opportunity to learn a piece of a leader who once lived and impacted many lives. This year, after a critical analysis of Ghana's fourth constitutional republican status, which commenced in 1993, one can conclude with certainty that there was something unique about Professor John Evans ATTA and his leadership under the Fourth Republic. I am sure our seasoned lawyer and former EC chair, Madame Charlotte Osei, will do justice to this topic. Even more so, I am told she became the first keynote speaker of the memorial lectures who was a student of Professor Mers. Professor Mills taught her company law, and she received the prize for the best graduating student in company law. Allow me to give a few precursors to highlight the additional importance of the team. In telling the story of the late John Mills, it must not be lost on us that he was once Vice President under Flight Lieutenant Jerry John Rawlings. By virtue of this, the late statesman did not embody only one generation. He was a blend of the experience of the post-military regime and the democratic constitutional government. He had practical experience of what it meant for a country to continue grappling with developmental issues, lack of public trust, and the ills of both perceived and actual corruption within our public space. He understood bold and courageous leadership, but as a respected jurist and teacher of the law, he appreciated the aspiration and wishes, concerns and chants of the people. Our people and country were crying for a principled yet people's leadership. The people silently called for patriotism and not the politics of petty partisan divisions. God's gift to our fourth republic was John Evans Atta Mills. He was a hybrid of the old order and aspiration of the people. Someone who knew Professor better and understood his fundamental principles, Dr. Cadman Atta Mills, his brother, noted the many factors that have shaped his political journey and identity leadership. And I quote, "But as we have seen, Bra Fifi was not simply the product of his personal beliefs, character, and faith. He was also a product of his environment, his family situation, the opportunities open to him, the expectations of others, and what was considered acceptable behavior by his parents, family, friends, and teammates. This was the gift given to Ghana and humanity. A leader born out of divine will of the time, a hybrid of our past and the future we aspire, a father and exceptional politician who blazed the trail in his time. He is a colossal figure whose impact was felt and expressed. And I dare add, we must continue until we raise the generations of many Atta Mills. On this note, I accept to chair this auspicious lecture in memory of the late President John Atta Mills, and for a man who personally looked up to Prof. For his exceptional personality and humility, it is a privilege, honor to chair this lecture. Thank you.
Another round of applause for the Chief of Staff and our Chairman for today's occasion, Honorable Julius Deborah. And Mr. Chairman, permit me to continue with some important acknowledgements. Let's say a big hello to Nana Entry Jemfi, who has joined us as well, one of our elders here today. Thank you very much for joining us here. We'd also like to acknowledge all members of the Council of State, all members of the Council of State who are present. If you could please give us a wave so we can see you. All members of the Council of State, thank you very much for joining us as well. Also, all members of the Council of Elders and National Executives of the National Democratic Congress, if we could also please acknowledge you. Give us a wave, thank you very much. They are seated throughout the auditorium. Joining us today is the Minister for Education, Honorable Haruna Idrisu. Let's acknowledge him with a round of applause, if we can see you, Honorable. We also have our Minister for Fisheries and Aquaculture Development, Honorable Emilia Arthur. Honorable Emilia Arthur is here with us as well. Thank you for joining us, Honorable. Our many traditional and religious leaders, thank you very much for joining us. Nime, Name, thank you. We appreciate you very much for making time to be here with us today. Joining us here is the brother of Professor Mills. Honorable Samuel Atta Mills is here today. Please let's welcome him with a round of applause. Thank you very much for being here. The son of Professor Mills is also here with his wife. So Mr. and Mrs. Kofi Mills, they've also made the journey to be here for today's lecture. Thank you very much for joining us. We also acknowledge the siblings of Professor Mills and other family members, and thank you for being here. Mr. Prosper Bani, the National Security Advisor, is also here. Thank you for joining us, sir. Our Minister for Defense, Dr. Omani Boama, is also here. If we could please acknowledge you. The Honorable Minister, thank you very much for joining us here today. And to all other distinguished guests, and as we mentioned, we do our very best to acknowledge you, and we thank you and appreciate you for taking time out of your busy schedules to be here with us today. Mr. Chairman, although we may have an inkling of why we are here, it is apt for us to be formally and officially informed of the purpose for today's gathering. And to do the honors, I would like to invite to the stage now the Chief of Staff at the Office of the Vice President and Board Chairman of the JEA Mills Memorial Heritage, Honorable Alex Segbefia.
Good afternoon to all. Mr. Chairman, Honorable Julius Deborah, Chairman of the Chief of Staff at the Office of the President, Your Excellency, Vice President of Ghana, Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyemang, who is also representing our President, His Excellency the President of the Republic of Ghana, President John Dramani Mahama. The Right Honorable Speaker, Honorable Abambagbin, the Chairman of the National Democratic Congress, Honorable Asiedu Nketia, our General Secretary, Honorable Fifi Kwete, our keynote speaker, Mrs. Charlotte Osei, former Chairperson of the Electoral Commission of Ghana, the Vice Chancellor of the University of Professional Studies, our host, current and past ministers of state here present, current and past members of parliament here present, esteemed representatives of our religious bodies, members of the diplomatic corps, Nananum, Nime, Name, Togbio, Mamao, members of the media, our fourth estate, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. His Excellency John Evans Mills, late President of the Republic of Ghana, and the only President of Ghana to have died in office, was a unique individual who touched the lives of many people in a positive manner. The essence of leadership is to give hope. And President Mills gave us so much hope for a better Ghana for all. Forthright, calm, God-fearing, and God-loving, a man of peace and a father for all. President Mills ensured that he left an enduring mark, a legacy, a heritage in a country which continues to miss him 13 years after his death. He was incorruptible and a man of integrity, a rare combination in some politicians. He was also an intellectual of no mean repute and a sportsman par excellence, with a particular passion for hockey. He brought to bear on the Ghanaian presidency all these unique attributes of his personality. The significance and greatness of a person predominantly lies in how history perceives him. That perception is carved out of many factors, but primarily tend to be from what views others have of that person. If the lectures of the various high-level caliber of presenters at the commemorative lectures of President John Evans Mills over the last 13 years are anything to go by, then we are really privileged as a country and the people to have such a man as our president. Indeed, a godsend. The beauty of the lectures is the revelation of character traits which we all know exist, but laid bare in different contexts each time. Today will not be an exception by our keynote speaker, Mrs. Charlotte Osei, former chairperson of the Electoral Commission, for she knew him well. The J.A. Mills Memorial Heritage was birthed and duly incorporated on the 14th of October, 2021, as a company limited by guarantee. It is a not-for-profit, non-partisan, independent, charitable organization. It exists to promote President John Evans Atta Mills' unique view of society to cause positive actions in strengthening democratic values and human development. Its vision is to inspire humanity for a better society. The John Evans Atta Mills Memorial Heritage is working to inculcate into Ghanaian society the values and principles of the late president. After its incorporation, the J.A. Mills Memorial Heritage was launched on the 1st of February 2022. The Memorial Heritage has since gained NGO status and has been duly registered with the Department of Social Welfare. The Heritage has embarked upon a number of activities over the years, and we have been responsible for a number of publications. The Great Launch, which is a report of the proceedings of the launch of the Heritage. Atta Mills Speaks to the World, which is a compilation of Atta Mills' speeches at the UN, which highlights the achievements of President Mills. We have also been responsible for a number of commemorative lectures, which we documented into a remarkable publication entitled Atta Mills Around the Regions. Additionally, we continued our support for education by sponsoring academic awards at the University of Health and Allied Science, UHAS, further reinforcing Professor Mills' belief in academic excellence and opportunities for all. The Heritage Board of Directors is chaired by myself, former Minister of Health and currently the Chief of Staff at the Office of the Vice President. I have a committed team of board members comprising Honorable Samai Atta Mills, Member of Parliament for Komenda, Edina Eguafu Abirem, I believe I'm correct, and the younger brother of President Mills, Mr. C.C. Kwenu, Acting Commissioner of the Gaming Commission, and Madam Nana Oye Bambo Adu, Deputy Chief of Staff Administration, who is the Board Secretary and also our Chief Executive Officer. Late Honorable Dr. Sherry Aite was a founding member of the Memorial Heritage and member of the board until her untimely demise. May her gentle soul rest in perfect peace. Her replacement is Miss Nancy Ampofo Esquire, a distinguished senior lawyer. The Memorial Heritage is made up of the Memorial Heritage Advisory Council is made up of 15 eminent personalities. It is chaired by Togbi Apede, the 14th, a Bobomefia of the Asogli State of the Volta region. The vice chairperson is Dr. Esther Ofe Abwaji, former director of the Institute of Local Government Studies. The other advisory council members are Dr. Kadban Atta Mills, Mr. Kwame Pienim, Honorable Alhaji Mohammed Mumuni, Mr. John Henry Mate Newman, Na Al-Hassan Andani, E.M. Commodore Mensah, His Excellency James Bebaku Mensah, Mr. Kweku Bram Labi, Professor Agnes Atia Apusiga, Alhaji Ahmed Vanderpoel, Dr. Abna Oye Jampo, Mrs. Kate Kwote Papafio, Mrs. Marafatu Abiola Bawa. The NDC party, in collaboration with the John Evans Atta Mills Memorial Heritage, will commemorate the passing of President John Evans Atta Mills on the 24th of July 2025, this Thursday, with a wreath-laying ceremony at the Asumdwe Park, where his remains are interred at 9 a.m. prompt. The 24th of July is the exact date and month of his passing. All are duly invited. It is always a solemn ceremony which reignites the depth of loss we have suffered as a nation with the passing of this true patriot. On Saturday, the 26th of July, at 8:30 a.m. at the Theodosia Oko Hockey Stadium in Accra, the President John Evans Atta Mills Hockey Tournament will take place to climax the 13th anniversary celebration. All are invited as well. At this juncture, let me take this opportunity on behalf of the board and the advisory council to thank the planning committee. To mention a few in no particular order: Emilia Atta, Eric Osei Owusu, Sylvanos Tamaklo, Kwame Prepra, Ludwig Lodge, Kwame Nahoy, Kofi Totobi Kwachi, Kwesi Ahoy, Ni Jangba Vanderpoy, Ni Lante Vanderpoy, Daniela Matthias, and Atu Ahoy. The list is far from exhaustive, but due to time constraints, I plead for forgiveness if I have left your name out. We take this opportunity to thank the numerous philanthropists, donors, whose actions have made these events a success over the years. Special mention is made of the input of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, President of the Republic of Ghana, and Her Excellency Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman, Vice President of the Republic of Ghana. Mention must be made of the Right Honorable Speaker of Parliament, who has been quite generous to us. Honorable, we are grateful. We extend our deep appreciation to Nadu Ernestina Mills, wife of President Mills, for her continued support for our activities. Thanks to one and all for continuing with us on our journey of ensuring the legacy of this great icon of our land endures forever. God bless us all.
Another round of applause for Honorable Alex Segbefia. And thank you very much, Honorable. Again, he is not only the Chief of Staff at the Office of the Vice President, he's also the Board Chairman of the JEA Mills Memorial Heritage. Mr. Chairman, at this juncture, I would also like to acknowledge the presence of the legal advisor to the President of the Republic of Ghana, Honorable Marietta Brew, who has also joined us. A round of applause for her. There she is. Thank you very much for being here with us, Honorable. And once again, we are live on Accra FM, Class FM, Wazon TV, and on Clog TV. So for those who are watching us from wherever you are, thank you for joining us. At this juncture, we will take a musical interlude. And we know that President Mills was a lover of choral music. Today, we have the distinct pleasure of being entertained by the world-renowned Harmonious Chorale. They will give us one song, and after that, we will hear from the family of our late president. Please give a round of applause to the Harmonious Chorale Ghana. please, an enthusiastic round of applause for the Harmonious Chorale and their wonderful rendition, and I'm sure we'll hear more from them later. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, the Majority Leader is here with us, Honorable Mahama Ayariga. Please let's welcome him with a round of applause. Thank you for joining us, Honorable. And the Ashanti Regional Minister, Dr. Frank Amwakohene. Honorable, thank you for joining us. If we could see you, if you could give us a wave so we can capture you there. He's somewhere in this room. Thank you for, oh, he's there, all right. Thank you very much for joining us, Honorable. There he is, and there's the Honorable Majority Leader as well. We would also like to announce that this Thursday, which marks the exact date of the anniversary of the passing of President Mills, there will be a wreath-laying ceremony at Asumdwe Park. So again, that will be on the 24th of July, Thursday, at Asumdwe Park, a wreath-laying ceremony at 9:30 a.m. All are invited to attend, so please take note of this important ceremony. Again, it will be on Thursday, this Thursday, the 24th of July, to mark the anniversary of the passing of President Mills. And at this juncture, we would like to invite Honorable Samuel ATTA Mills, MP for KEA constituency in the Central Region, to give some remarks on behalf of the family of the late President John Evans ATTA Mills. Please welcome him with a round of applause.
Hello. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. May I stand on the existing protocols? But I need to recognize my mother, Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Ajima. May I also pick out Auntie Sati, Auntie Fosi, and so many other people over here. And my mentors, the great leader, the great conspirator, and then the great consultant. Ladies and gentlemen, my brothers and sisters, I thank you so much for remembering our big brother. He has been an inspiration to all of us, and I hope and pray that those of us coming up will live up to the standards that he lived. And we pray that at the time that we also pass away, somebody will remember us. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
Thank you, Honorable Samuel ATTA Mills. Let's give another round of applause to him for speaking on behalf of the family of President John Evans ATTA Mills. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, we're also live on Power FM and TV XYZ and many other stations, as we've already mentioned. And now, it is time for us to take a quick look at a compilation of information about President John Evans ATTA Mills. I will ask everyone to train their eyes to the screen as we watch a short documentary. Thank you.
Ghana will be able to move forward in leaps and bounds, and Ghana will continue to be a beacon to the rest of Africa. Ghana has been transformed. I keep telling people, Ibineze Oba Anapa, Ibineze Obe Wia, Ibineze Obe Nyubire. The good Lord will be with us all.
Professor John Evans Fifi ATTA Mills was born in Takwa in the Western Region but hailed from a Kumfi in the central region of Ghana. He received formal education at Achimota School, where he completed the advanced level certificate in 1963, and the University of Ghana, Legon, where he completed a law degree in 1967. While pursuing a PhD in law from the prestigious School of Oriental and African Studies in London, the Prof, as he was affectionately called, was selected as a Fulbright scholar at Stanford Law School in the United States in 1971. He earned his PhD at age 27 in taxation and economic development. Mill's first formal teaching assignment was as a lecturer at the Faculty of Law at the University of Ghana. He returned to Ghana to work at his alma mater, the University of Ghana, for 25 years. He became a visiting professor of Temple Law School, Philadelphia, USA, with 2 stints from 1978 to 1979 and 1986 to 1987. Again, he was a visiting professor at Leiden University, Holland, from 1985 to 1986. During this period, he authored several publications related to taxation during the 1970s and 1980s. By 1992, he had become an associate professor of law at the University of Ghana. Outside of his academic pursuits, Professor Mills was the acting Commissioner of Internal Revenue Service from 1986 to 1993 and the Substantive Commissioner from 1993 to 1996. Professor ATTA Mills served as Vice President to Jerry John Rawlings between 1997 and January 2001.
We have a country where only the privileged few are enjoying, while the generality of the people are wallowing in poverty. This must come to an end. And I assure you, ATTA Mills and the NDC will provide the needed relief. May God bless us all.
He took over the leadership of Rawlings' National Democratic Congress and lost 2 presidential elections in 2000 and 2004 respectively.
It's about human beings. That's all. That is all.
Mr. President, welcome to the United States. Welcome to your delegation, and we wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President, for this very warm reception. My delegation and I are really honored to be here today. First, to say a big thank you to you, Mr. President, for the honor done us by singling us out for your visit to Africa on assumption of office. It really inspired us. And I'm also here to also thank you for the help that we have been enjoying and for the high level of cooperation and collaboration that exists between our two countries. We share the same values of democracy. We have come to accept that democracy is the only way, and democracy goes with development. And if you come to Africa, our people are yearning for only one thing: improvement in their daily lives. And there can be no development without peace.
In spite of the defeat, Professor Mills surged on, and in 2008, he ran under the campaign slogan, "A better man for a better Ghana," on a platform of change, and became the third president of the Fourth Republic of Ghana in 2009.
My brothers and sisters, we want no violence. We want no cheating. We don't want any bloodshed. I know that the good Lord himself has already blessed us. NDC will go back. It's been a long but enjoyable struggle. And I'm very grateful to the people for the confidence that they have reposed in ATTA Mills and in the NDC.
One interesting thing about Professor Mills's victory in the 2008 elections is the fact that he was the third John to become president of the Fourth Republic of Ghana. He became president after contesting for the third time, and the 3 rounds that characterized the 2008 elections in which he won. Those who were close to him say he was a man of high integrity, humility. He was liberal-minded, and the word peace was his watchword. His supporters branded him Asumdwehene, which literally means the king of peace. Under his governance, a number of projects were undertaken in line with his Better Ghana agenda. Amongst his accomplishments as president was his presiding over and initiating Ghana's first ever oil production. He was also credited for the growth of Ghana's economy during his term. One can say that the Prof was one who believed in education, and a number of projects in this area have been credited to his administration. The elimination of schools under trees, the provision of free uniforms to school children in public basic schools, and the distribution of free exercise books to primary school pupils between 2010 and 2011 are some of his good works. The school feeding program was also rationalized to target schools in more needy communities. In the area of health, the replacement of 13 non-functioning lifts at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital and other projects at the same hospital have been credited to the administration of Professor Mills. There was also significant increase in coverage of the National Health Insurance Scheme. Other areas were the energy sector, infrastructure, agriculture, and security.
Oh boy! That one I say. Now, I'm very one fan that say my yanko pony or was now. Yeah, Ben, things were not easy. We had a lot of difficulties, but we have come this far. Look, there is a lot that we can show Ghanaians that we have done for them. Along the way, we have had to make sacrifices, and many of you here have felt the force of the sacrifices that we have made. But I want to assure you that the next 4 years are going to be better. The next 4 years are going to see our dreams fulfilled because we have been able to remove the impediments.
Away from his official duty, the Asundre Hene, as he was fondly called, was enthusiastic about sports and enjoyed field hockey and swimming. He also once played for the national hockey team and remained a member of the veterans hockey team until his death. He was also a board member of Heart of Oak and a Manchester United fan. President Mills has several publications to his credit. They include taxation of periodical or deferred payments arising from the sale of fixed capital, exemption of dividends from income taxation, and Ghana's income tax laws and the investor. He was married to Dr. Ernestina Nadu Mills, a director of education and trained marriage counselor. He had a son, Sam Kofi Atta Mills. On 24th July 2012, at 2:15 p.m., Professor Johnny Vance Atta Mills passed on after a short ailment at the 37 Military Hospital.
Fellow countrymen and women, our nation has been hit by an unprecedented tragedy. Our nation is in mourning at the sudden and untimely death of the President of the Republic of Ghana and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, His Excellency Professor John Evans Atta Mills. For the first time in the history of our dear country, we have lost a sitting president who worked so tirelessly for his people. Madam Speaker, the President was taken ill around noon today. He was rushed to the 37 Military Hospital, and try as the medical team did, they were not able to avert this tragic loss. The President passed away at 14:15 hours this afternoon. This is the saddest day in our nation's history. Tears have engulfed our nation, and we are deeply saddened and distraught.
It is the wish of many Ghanaians that he finds rest in the bosom of his Maker. May his soul rest in perfect peace.
May God continue to bless our homeland Ghana and make our nation greater and stronger.
Let's keep the applause going for the beautiful documentary honoring President John Evans Atta Mills. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, as we prepare to welcome our keynote speaker for the 13th anniversary commemorative lecture, we will transition from this wonderful documentary with another musical performance from the Harmonious Chorale Ghana. Please do enjoy this music before we take our lecture. Thank you. And another round of applause for the harmonious Chorale Ghana. They are still here with us. And with that, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I will invite to the stage the Minister for Fisheries and Aquaculture Development and Member of Parliament for Shamar Constituency, Honorable Emilia Arthur, to introduce our keynote speaker for today. Please welcome her with a round of applause.
Mr. Chairman, the Chief of Staff of Ghana, Her Excellency, how sweet it is to say this, Her Excellency, the Vice President of the Republic of Ghana, Professor J. Nana Opoku-Agyeman, Right Honorable Speaker of Parliament, members of Council of State, Majority Leader of Parliament and Leader of Government Business, the National Chairman and the General Secretary of the party, senior party members, numerous hard-working party executives at all levels who have filled this room, distinguished guests, Nananom, esteemed colleagues of mine, ministers of state, MPs, friends of JEA Mills Heritage, good afternoon. Good afternoon. My task here is the simplest and the easiest because I'm so happy to be the one to introduce the person going to speak about the man, ATTA Mills. On 2nd May 2011, working in my capacity as Deputy Western Regional Minister, an appointment he gave me, with senior party officials who are seated to my left-hand side as I stand up here, who had come to the Western region to work with me on how to move our government and party forward. Whilst there, I received a phone call that my dearly beloved mother had passed. Within 2 seconds, literally 2 seconds, His Excellency, the President then, Professor Evans Fifi ATTA Mills, was on the phone with me and said to me, "Don't worry, kawa kumatuyem, yebesho, mema ama benyuado, we take over." Instantly, I was at peace. That is the man. So he cared so much, not only about the job he had given us, but even about all the things that were going on in our lives. I am here this afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, to introduce to you an exceptional Ghanaian, a trailblazer, a woman of intellect, conviction, and service, Mrs. Charlotte Kerson-Smith Osei, who is going to give us the ATTA Mills lecture this afternoon. In honoring the memory and legacy of President John Evans ATTA Mills, a man of principle, peace, and public purpose, it is only fitting that we welcome a speaker who embodies many of the same virtues that defined his leadership. Mrs. Charlotte Osei is a lawyer by training and a public servant by calling. She holds degrees in law from the University of Ghana, an LLM from Queen's University in Canada, and a master's in business leadership from University of South Africa, Pretoria. She made history in 2015 when she was appointed as chairperson of the Electoral Commission of Ghana, becoming the first woman to hold that office. In that role, she supervised one of the most pivotal elections in our recent history, upholding democratic principles under immense national and international scrutiny. It was called one of the world's best elections by international observers. Before that, she served as the first female chairperson of the National Commission for Civic Education, where she championed civic awareness and democratic participation, core values that President ATTA Mills upheld with unwavering devotion. Mrs. Osei's commitment to democratic development and governance has earned her regional and international recognition. She's a respected voice on issues of rule of law, gender equity, constitutionalism, and electoral integrity across Africa and beyond. Today, as we reflect on the life and values of President Mills, his humility, his calm strength, his integrity, it is deeply appropriate that we are joined by a woman who has not only broken ceilings, but has done so with grace, excellence, and courage. But more importantly, was one of Professor Mills's students and mentees. Ladies and gentlemen, Nananom, please join me in welcoming our guest speaker for the 2025 John Evans ATTA Mills Heritage Lecture, Mrs. Charlotte Osei. Mrs. Charlotte
Your Excellency,
Osei.
the Vice President of the Republic of Ghana, Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman, henceforth Auntie Nana, the Right Honorable Speaker of Parliament, Honorable Julius Deborah, Chief of Staff and Chair of today's lecture, members of the Board of the J.E.M. Mills Memorial Heritage, members of the ATTA Mills and allied families, Honorable Ministers of State, members of Parliament, members of the Council of State, Excellencies, members of the Diplomatic Corps, our revered chiefs and queen mothers, our landlord, the Vice Chancellor of the UPSA, Justices of the Supreme Court, Court of Appeal, High Court, members of the Fourth Estate, my brothers and sisters. Is it too late to swap places with Auntie Nana for her to be here so I can? No, you won't, okay. In a world of noise, integrity is a silent superpower. It is an incredible honor to stand before all of you today to deliver this year's J.E.M. Mills Memorial Lecture. I do so with deep emotion and profound humility, paying tribute not only to a president, but to a teacher, a mentor, and a father figure whose life significantly shaped mine and the lives of many others. As I prepare to share my reflections of Uncle Fifi, I am reminded of former President Muhammadu Buhari's words. He said, President ATTA Mills was a good man, a very good man, one of the very best from our continent. These words capture the essence of the man we honor today. My name is Charlotte Smith Osei, and I had the extraordinary privilege of being taught commercial law by Dr. Mills, as he was, at the University of Ghana, Legon, and later company law at the Ghana School of Law. More significantly, in 2011, he appointed me as chairperson of the National Commission for Civic Education, making me the first woman to hold that position in Ghana's history. Today, I speak as a mentee, reflecting on the profound impact of a teacher who saw potential where others saw youth, who offered opportunity where others saw inexperience, and who built bridges where others saw divisions. A theme for this year's memorial lecture is ATTA Mills, a case study for the Fourth Republic. I will be approaching this theme through three lenses. I will look at Prof as a man, Prof as a teacher, and Prof as a president. And then I'll share the reflections of a mentee. It's important to look at Prof's character because his character defined everything he achieved, and his character is the reason why we're honoring him today. Prof was born on 21st July 1944 in Takwa, Western Region, and he tragically passed away on July 24th, 2012, just 3 days after his 68th birthday. But in those 68 years, Prof lived a life that exemplified the highest ideals of scholarship, public service, and human dignity. He was born to John Atta Mills Sr., an educationist at Commended Teacher Training College, and Mercy Dawson Amwa. Young Fifi was a second child and the first son among 7 siblings. From his father, we learn that he inherited a love of learning and teaching, and from his mother, he gained the gentle strength that would characterize his leadership style. His educational journey, as we've been told, took him from Honey Valley Methodist Primary School to Commended Methodist Middle School, and then to Achimota School, where he completed his ordinary and advanced level certificates in 1961 and 1963. At the University of Ghana, he completed his Bachelor of Law degree and Professional Law certificate in 1967. Mills's pursuit of higher education took him to the London School of Economics for his LLM in 1968, and then to the School of Oriental and African Studies at the University of London, where he earned his PhD in law in 1971 at the remarkably young age of 27. His selection as a Fulbright scholar to Stanford Law School in 1971. It was a testament to Prof's character and potential. The Fulbright program chose him not just for his intellectual capabilities, but for his potential to be a bridge builder and a leader. At Stanford, his colleagues remember him as someone who listened more than he spoke, who asked thoughtful questions, and who approached every challenge with both intellectual rigor and human compassion. He was, in the words of one Stanford professor, a scholar gentleman in the truest sense of the term. Perhaps no quality defined Mills the man more than his humility. In a continent where political leaders are often known for high-handed approaches to power, Mills remained remarkably grounded throughout his life and presidency. His humility was not weakness, it was strength under control. This humility was evident in his famous declaration that I have always said that I will be president for all Ghanaians, whether they voted for me or not, and without consideration for which part of the country they come from. These were not mere campaign promises. They were the words of a man who truly understood that leadership is service and not privilege. His approach to leadership emboldened me personally on 2 occasions to tell him, while he was president, that I thought a decision he took was wrong, and in another case, the decision was unfair because he had not listened to the other party. Typical of Prof, he took the criticism very calmly. We argued as lawyers, and he told me, when you're president, you see things very differently. Eventually, in one of the matters, months later, I got a message from him. He said, you were right and I was wrong. That was an emotional moment for me and a great lesson in leadership. And I did learn that power that fears criticism is already bankrupt. In an era when political integrity often seemed like an oxymoron, Mills stood as a beacon of moral leadership. His integrity was not situational, it was absolute. Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, current president of Nigeria, best captured this aspect of Prof in his tribute when Prof died. He said, President Atta Mills was a man with a profound, comprehensive intellect. Unlike many individuals whose public courage as a politician diverges negatively from their private persona, the private and public morals and practices of this man were undifferentiated. There was no seam dividing the public official from the private man. He was guided by a moral compass that did not waver according to the circumstance. Before President Tinubu knew this. Those of us who were his students knew this already. Interesting story from first year. We had decided to go to London over the summer holidays to job. My first challenge, of course, was getting a visa. I went for the visa interview, and the official interviewing me asked me what I was going to do in London for 3 months. I told him I was going to see the sights. And he said, you're a law student. I said, yes. He said, okay. Can I advise you? I said, sure. He said, before you become a lawyer, make sure you become a better liar. I said, thank you. I got my visa, and with my roommates, we went off to London to job. Then the university reopened, and we were late. I managed to get into Ghana before my 2 roommates, and I managed to get myself registered for second year. My 2 roommates came back, and they were told by the dean that they had been deferred for 1 year. One of my roommates, Irama, was actually a niece of Professor Mills, who was vice dean. So we figured, go to Prof's home, go and plead, and of course, if Prof makes a case for Irama, it means everybody else can sneak through. So Irama goes to Mills's house that evening and comes back to our room, very, very angry. He said, what did Prof say? Oh, Prof said, it's only 1 year. It doesn't matter. You can study French or computer during that 1 year. So at that point, everybody else knew that there was no hope. Irama spent the year studying French. So we knew that his approach to corruption was uncompromising. So when he said, I would not spare any government official, be it past or present, who would be found guilty of embezzling state funds, it was not political rhetoric. It was a moral conviction that guided his administration. Prof was also fundamentally a man of peace. This was not passive pacifism, but active peacemaking. He understood that peace was not merely the absence of conflict, but the presence of justice, understanding, and mutual respect. His philosophy of peace was captured in his words. We are going to ensure that there is peace before, during, and after the election. Because when there is no peace, it's not the elites who will suffer. It's the ordinary people who have elected us into office. When we were students, Prof told my class, this was the peacemaker, that as far as possible, we should make sure we are not the reason for anyone losing their job. Many of my classmates remember this caution. We can't remember what we were talking about. Later in my public life, trying to be the good mentee, I applied this advice to my own significant harm. But the good thing was, Prof was right. There was peace because I took the path of peace. So, peaceful Prof still wins the day. But there's also another story one of the students told me that showed me that although it was good that Prof was peaceful, Prof would have been a very poor litigation lawyer. So, Commonwealth boys went on a protest and misbehaved very badly. In their words, they disciplined a particular student. So the head of their JCR was in trouble. And the student who had been disciplined was a relative of Prof Mills and went to hire Prof as his lawyer. Prof calls the dean of students and says he wants to see the Commonwealth president and ask him that, were you people went to do ABC? And he said, yes. Prof said, let me advise you. Go quickly to the student who was disciplined and go and beg and make peace. Because I know it was a prank that went too far, but if it goes to court, you guys can be in a lot of trouble. The guy quickly sneaked there. He didn't even tell Prof that he was also the chief choir master. And he went and he apologized and made peace, and that's how the matter died. So most litigation lawyers would know that this is not the path to making money, but that was Prof. But Prof's character was also shaped by his love of sports and by his being a family man and a Christian. He loved sports. Everyone knew this, particularly hockey. He played for the Ghana national hockey team, and he learned valuable lessons about teamwork, discipline, and fair play. The values from the hockey field, working together toward common goals, respecting teammates and opponents, understanding that individual success means nothing without team success, would later inform his political leadership. Most of my law school colleagues would recall male students gathered around Prof after lectures. They were not discussing law or tax. They were discussing football. That was the measure of the man. Behind the public figure was a devoted family man, married to Ernestina Nadu Mills, with son Kofi Sam, and many siblings and extended family. His approach to family life reflected the same values that guided his public service. Mills's character was deeply rooted in his Christian faith as a Methodist. His belief in divine providence gave him strength to persevere through political defeats and personal challenges. He genuinely believed that his talents and opportunities were gifts to be used in service of others and not privileges to be enjoyed for personal benefit. The character of John Atta Mills, the man, created the foundation for everything he would accomplish as a teacher and as a president. His humility made him approachable. His integrity earned him trust across divides. His commitment to peace created stability for progress, and his love of learning inspired others to pursue excellence. For most Ghanaians lawyers of my generations, we knew Mills more as a teacher. We are very glad that when Professor Mills returned to Ghana after Stanford Law School, he chose the path of academia and did not pursue more lucrative opportunities in private practice or international organizations. Mills' first formal teaching assignment was as a lecturer at the Faculty of Law at the University of Ghana, Legon, and he would spend the next 25 years in this role, rising to associate prof in 1992. But the real measure of Mills, the teacher, lies not in his academic achievements or the many papers that he authored, though they were considerable. But the real measure was the impact he had on the minds and hearts and lives of his students. Mills taught us that reputation built in silence lasts longer than applause. For Prof, the classroom was more than a venue for transmitting information. It was a sacred space where minds were opened, characters were formed, and futures were shaped. Students who attended his law classes remember a professor who demanded excellence, but provided the support necessary to achieve it. He had very high expectations, and his marks were usually very low. But he also had high investments in our success. Mills understood that teaching law was not just about imparting legal knowledge, it was about developing legal minds. He taught his students not just what to think, but how to think. He emphasized critical analysis, logical reasoning, and ethical reflection. He wanted his students to understand not just the letter of the law, but its spirit and its purpose. He saw law as a tool for addressing social justice or for enabling social justice and national development. He did not see legal education as merely professional training, but as preparation for service to society. Hence his earlier admonition about not being the cause of anyone losing their job. He also emphasized the importance of integrity in legal practice. He understood that as lawyers, we would face situations where we could choose between personal gain and professional ethics. Through his teaching and personal example, he sought to instill in his students the moral foundation necessary to make the choice. And this teaching went beyond the classroom to his approach to everything. Honorable Nana Oye and her friends were living on campus, and Mills was teaching at the law school. His lectures were at 7 a.m. in the morning because he had to lecture before going to the IRS. And he started giving a group of them lifts to Makola. So when there were 2, it was fine. But as word spread, they became 3, and then 4, and then 5. So now, Prof decided that when he gets there, he's not going to decide who gets into his car. The first ones to arrive gets the lift. Always there, even in the little decisions. While he was an excellent classroom teacher, his greatest impact as an educator came through his mentorship relationships with individual students. Prof had an extraordinary ability to identify potential in young people and to nurture that potential through guidance, encouragement, and opportunity. As one of his students in both commercial law and company law, I experienced firsthand the transformative power of Prof's mentorship. Prof saw something in me that I had not yet seen in myself. He challenged me to think more deeply, to write more clearly, and to aspire more boldly. But more than that, Prof believed in me at a time when I was still learning to believe in myself. Mills was particularly committed to mentoring young women in law, recognizing the barriers we faced and the potential it represented. Lady Julia Osei and myself were 2 young women who probably would not have been able to obtain our Master of Laws degrees without the support of Prof. Mills. He was a constant referee on every young student applicant for graduate work. Through Prof's support, one of my classmates ended up at Prof's alma mater, the London School of Economics, for his LLM. And Prof helped him to get his first job at the Ghana Stock Exchange when he came back home. And for all the students, Prof did not have to know where we came from, who our parents were, he just helped. Prof was always accessible to his students. When I was at Queen's University in Canada, I worked in the library. And one time they were throwing away all the books where they had additional copies. So I asked them, what were they going to do with the books? They said they were going to be trashed. And I said, oh, could I have them for the law faculty? And they said, yes. So I ended up with 48 boxes of books in my apartment. Now, I didn't know how these books were going to get to Ghana. Every week, my landlord would come and look at the boxes and ask me when the boxes were moving. Eventually, I think Prof was at the IRS at the time. I managed to get a message to Prof that I was about to be kicked out of my apartment with 48 boxes of law books. Prof immediately called the High Commissioner. They sent a van and they picked these 48 boxes of books before my landlord kicked me and the books onto the streets of Kingston, Ontario. That was Prof, always accessible. Beyond all this, Prof was very committed to building the institutional capacity of the Faculty of Law. He wanted Ghanaian students to be able to compete with their counterparts anywhere in the world. But he also wanted us to understand and address the specific legal and development challenges facing Ghana. So as much as Prof would help you to get graduate admissions and go do your masters, Prof would always stay in touch and encourage you to come back home. So his appointments as visiting professor at Temple University in Philadelphia, and he was a visiting lecturer at Leiden University in the Netherlands, enriched his teaching. It also opened up opportunities for us, his students, because most of us got admission to these universities because on the strength of Prof's references. Prof was also a very kind lecturer. He was one of those lecturers who was always giving lifts to his students. There was one particular lift story that happened in my class that was very interesting. Because the three parties in this story are now a Court of Appeal judge and two very respected lawyers, I will not mention their names. So, one day, the one who is now a judge was studying at the law library. He took off his shoes while studying and he fell asleep. Another classmate, let's call him J1, goes and picks his shoes. Then he decides to leave the library and hands the shoes over to J2. It was time for a lecture. J2, rather than leaving the shoes in the library, took the shoes to the lecture room. So our current Court of Appeal judge had to walk barefoot to the lecture room. So he gets to the lecture room, livid, and sees his shoes with J2, and asked J2 how he got his shoes. J2 said, hey, non est factum, not my deed. It was J1 who gave me the shoes. At this time, J1 is sitting in a corner of the lecture room. He knows he's in trouble. And the victim is making signals to show him that he'll get a good beating after class. So class ends, and victim goes to hide by the School of Communication Studies. There were some bushes there, waiting for J1 to come and receive the beating of his life. This would probably have ended up with at least two of them expelled from the law faculty. So J1 is hiding at the law faculty, unable to go back to the hostel. And then luckily for him, Prof used to come evenings to check his mailbox on his way home. Prof comes, law faculty is dark, and Prof is like, what are you doing here? He mumbles something. Prof said, no, you get into my car. So he gets into Prof's car. They drive past the victim, still standing in the bushes, and he waves at him, waiting to beat him up. And Prof takes him straight to his hostel, which was out of Prof's way, and then Prof drives off to Legon Hills. And so every time we talk about this, I tell them, certainly one of you would not be a lawyer today, and one would not be a judge, because you would have all been sent home. But that was the measure of Prof, and that was the kind of relationship Prof had with his students. Perhaps his greatest achievement as a teacher was his role in creating the next generation of legal and political leaders in Ghana. Many of his former students have gone on to distinguished careers in law, business, government, and civil society. They carried with them not just the legal knowledge he had imparted, but also the values and principles he had modeled. My own appointment as chair of the NCC in 2011 was just one example of how Mills continued to mentor and support his former students throughout their careers. He did not see graduation as the end of his relationship with his students, but as the beginning of a new phase of mentorship and support. Even as president, Mills maintained his commitment to education and to young people. His administration's focus on education reform, his emphasis on bringing young people into government, and his continued engagement with students and young professionals all reflected his understanding that leadership was ultimately about teaching and mentoring the next generation. When we talk about Mills bringing his students into government, Professor Kwame Nkrumah likes to remind me that he was also a student of Prof. Mills. But I have spoken to other former students of Prof, and we have unanimously agreed to reject him from that club on the grounds of age. He doesn't qualify, and he's a prof. We are dealing with the young students. So Mills understood that the teacher's role was not just to impart knowledge, but to inspire. So Mills understood that the teacher's role was not just to impart knowledge, but to inspire learning. He wanted to create not just knowledgeable citizens, but thinking citizens who could analyze problems and evaluate solutions and contribute to national development. These traits we see in his path to the presidency and how he served as president. Prof's journey to the presidency was not a straight path, but rather a testament to perseverance, principle, and the democratic process. His political career began in earnest when he was selected as vice president under President Jerry Rawlings in 1997, serving until 2001. This experience provided him with invaluable insights into the workings of government and the challenges of leadership in a developing democracy. His first bid for the presidency in 2000 ended in defeat to John Agyekum Kufuor. Rather than retreating from politics, Mills used this setback as a learning opportunity. His second attempt in 2004 also ended in defeat. But again, he demonstrated the resilience and determination that would characterize his leadership style. It was not until 2008, on his third attempt, that Mills finally achieved his goal of becoming president of Ghana. His victory was narrow, less than 1 percentage point in a runoff election. More importantly, it represented a peaceful transfer of power between political parties, demonstrating the maturity of Ghana's democracy and Mills' commitment to democratic principles. Mills came to the presidency with a clear vision encapsulated in what he called the Better Ghana agenda. This was not merely a campaign slogan for him, but a comprehensive framework for national development that reflected his understanding of Ghana's challenges and opportunities. The Better Ghana agenda was built on several key pillars: economic transformation, social development, good governance, and infrastructure development. But underlying all of this was Mills' fundamental belief that Ghana's greatest resource was its people, particularly its young people. He understood that building a better Ghana required not just better policies, but better leaders. And that meant investing in the leadership development of the next generation. Mills' approach to the Better Ghana agenda was characteristically thoughtful and inclusive. He did not claim to have all the answers, but he rather sought to create a framework within which Ghanaians could work together to find solutions to their common challenges. Perhaps no aspect of Mills' presidency was more revolutionary than his deliberate decision to make his administration what was proudly called a government of the youth and women. This was not tokenism or political calculation, but a fundamental reimagining of what government could and should look like. Mills understood that Ghana's future belonged to its young people, and he believed that they should have a voice in shaping that future. He also recognized that women represented an underutilized resource in Ghana's development, and he was determined to change that. Among the young people Mills brought into his administration were individuals like ATTA, Haruna Idrisu, Dr. Manibu Amwa, Felix Ofosu-Kwakye, Samuel Kujetu Ablakwa, and of course, one of his other students, Professor Kwame Nahoy. Bringing all these young people into public service and politics was not accidental. He deliberately and very intentionally tasked people, including Professor Ho himself, to find student leaders at universities and other smart young people and bring them into governance. He did not just appoint young people, he appointed qualified young people, and then he gave them the support and authority necessary to succeed. He understood that youth empowerment was not about lowering the standards, but about creating opportunities for excellence. Although he selected me to chair the NCC, it was not without several interviews, which he presented as conversations to establish my competence, my vision for the institution, and also that I was not a card-bearing member of any party before he finalized the appointment. The impact of Mills's youth appointments extended far beyond the individuals directly involved. These appointments sent a powerful message to young Ghanaians that their government valued their contributions and believed in their potential. They created role models and inspiration for countless young people who saw that public service was not just for the old and established, but for anyone with the qualifications, commitment, and vision to serve. And where you did not have the vision to serve, like in my case, he found a way to inject that vision into you. You would serve. His approach to youth empowerment was rooted in a broader philosophy of inclusive leadership. He genuinely believed in his often quoted words, "I have always said that I will be a president for all Ghanaians, whether they voted for me or not, and without consideration for which part of the country they come from." It was not political rhetoric. It was a governing philosophy that shaped every aspect of his administration. Mills understood that Ghana's diversity, ethnic, regional, religious, gender, and generational, was a source of strength, not division, but only if that diversity was properly harnessed and included in the governance process. His economic stewardship is also worthy of mention. Prof inherited an economy facing significant challenges, including the global financial crisis of 2008-2009. This presented both enormous opportunities and significant risk. Mills approached this challenge with characteristic thoughtfulness, working to ensure that all revenues would be used for long-term development rather than short-term consumption. Mills' presidency played a crucial role in consolidating Ghana's democracy. His commitment to democratic principles was evident in his respect for the rule of law and his tolerance of dissent and criticism. Kofi Annan, former UN Secretary General, said of Prof, "Ghanaians must extol the late president because his reign transformed the country as a model of investment possibilities. It cemented political stability, and while presiding over Ghana's first production of oil, he accelerated economic growth for the benefit of this fine West African country." Mills's presidency also marked Ghana's emergence as a respected voice in international affairs. His approach to foreign policy was rooted in his production of oil. He accelerated economic growth for the benefit. Mills's presidency also marked Ghana's emergence as a respected voice in international affairs. His approach to foreign policy was rooted in his understanding of Ghana's role as a beacon of democracy and stability in Africa. He sought to use Ghana's influence to promote peace, democracy, and development throughout the continent. The president's international engagements reflected his intellectual approach to leadership. He was comfortable discussing complex policy issues with world leaders, bringing to these discussions a deep understanding of both African realities and global trends. How did I know all this? Oh, at some point, early in his presidency, I received a call. A gentleman called Ambassador Baita said he had been sent by the president to come and see me. I was like, okay. Ambassador Baita comes, and first thing he says, "Are you related to Prof?" "No." "How do you know Prof?" "I was his student." He said, "Okay. Prof says I should inform you that he wants you to start writing his speeches." "Okay. Now he speech, we will call you, you write, what do you need to do it?" And I said I was fine, I didn't need anything. So that's how I started writing Prof speeches under the supervision of Honorable Kofi Totobi Kwachi. So I would, when Prof requested a speech, I would write and I'll send it to Uncle KTQ, who would look at it and say, "Hey, Charlotte, there's no politics in this speech." And then he would infuse it with the politics. Prof's presidency ended tragically with his death in office on July 24, 2012. He literally gave his life in service to Ghana, working until his final day to build the better Ghana he had promised. Prof's death was not just the loss of a president, but the loss of a teacher, a mentor, and a father figure to millions of Ghanaians. The circumstances of his death, dying in office while serving his people, provided a final testament to his character and commitment. He could have stepped down when his health began to fail, but he chose to continue serving until the end. This was not stubbornness or ego, but a deep sense of responsibility to the people who had entrusted him with leadership. Prof's peaceful succession by his Vice President, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, demonstrated the strength of Ghana's democratic institutions and the wisdom of Prof's approach to governance. The smooth transition was a tribute to the democratic culture that Mills had helped to nurture and strengthen. Although his presidency was tragically cut short, it left an indelible mark on Ghana and its people. His legacy as president can be measured in many ways. The peaceful elections, the young leaders he empowered, the institutions he strengthened, and the vision he articulated for Ghana's future. But perhaps his greatest legacy as president was his demonstration that leadership could be both effective and ethical, both strong and humble, and both visionary and practical. Prof was not a saint. Like all humans, he had his shortcomings, but we are the better for his having been here. Prof left his family, his students, his mentees, and his country better than he met them, and for that, we are grateful. As I reflect on the life and legacy of Professor John Evans Atta Mills, I am acutely aware that I speak not just as an observer of history, but as a participant in it. My relationship with Prof. Mills spanned multiple phases of both our lives, from my days as a student to speechwriter to my appointment as chairperson of the National Commission for Civic Education, and to the ongoing influence of his teachings on my life and work. I remember when Prof died, one of my colleagues at the NCC told me at a meeting that, as for you, everybody knows your godfather has died. So I think at that point, they all recognized that I was now an orphan. But the journey from student to mentee to public servant was not one I had planned or even imagined when I first entered his classroom. But Prof saw something in me that I had not yet seen in myself. This was his gift, the ability to recognize potential and to nurture it with patience, wisdom, and unwavering support. What made Prof Mills such an effective mentor was his ability to balance guidance with independence. He provided direction when I needed it, but he also encouraged me to think for myself and to develop my own perspectives and approaches. His mentorship was characterized by several key qualities. His accessibility. Despite his busy schedule and growing responsibilities, Prof always made time for his students and mentees. Even as vice president, I remember being at a funeral where Prof saw me and sent someone to drag me over to inquire why I had not come to see him at the castle. Many of my colleagues received similar messages, and we used to ask ourselves whether Prof really knew how hard it was to get into the castle. But he will send those messages. Authenticity. Prof was very genuine in his interactions with his mentees. He did not put on airs or try to impress us with his knowledge or position. He was simply himself, wise, caring, and committed to our success. Prof understood that growth and development take time. He was patient with our mistakes and supportive of our efforts to learn and improve. While supportive, he was not permissive. He was very firm, but he challenged us to think more deeply, to work harder, and to aspire higher. And then he created opportunities for his mentees. He opened doors that might otherwise. Prof understood that growth and development take time. He was patient with our mistakes and supportive of our efforts to learn and improve. While supportive, he was not permissive. He was very firm, but he challenged us to think more deeply, to work harder, and to aspire higher. And then he created opportunities for his mentees. He opened doors that might otherwise have remained closed, and he provided platforms for us to demonstrate our capabilities. When Prof offered me the position of chair of the NCC, I was both honored and terrified. There was no excuse I did not come up with in my attempt to decline the role. And Prof's only response was, if we all don't do it, what will become of Ghana? If I think back, even before that, I had inherited Prof's commercial law class at the University of Ghana. That was my first experience as a part-time lecturer. A class of course, nobody told me the class was 300 at the time they were sending me there. But again, I was terrified, but I was not given a choice. I was dropped in the water and I had to swim. But serving under Prof Mills provided me with invaluable lessons in leadership that no textbook or classroom could have taught me. I observed firsthand how he approached complex problems, how he built consensus among diverse stakeholders, and how he maintained his principles while navigating political realities. Prof held many positions of power, which he could have abused for personal gain, or which could have changed how he related with and engaged people. This didn't happen. As a lecturer, Prof was very kind, but very firm and principled. As a tax commissioner, he was the same, focused and firm, but gentle. As president, he was the same, open and engaging. Prof wore the trappings of office very uneasily. The positions never changed Prof. They were essentially vehicles of service. Prof was an exceptional listener who genuinely sought to understand different perspectives before making decisions. He created space for others to share their views, and he would consider their views seriously, even when they differed from his own initial thinking, before he would take a decision. Prof rarely made impulsive decisions or reacted emotionally to challenges. Instead, he gathered information, consulted widely, considered options carefully, and then he would act decisively, down to earth. He treated everyone with respect, regardless of their position or status. He was quick to give credit to others and slow to claim credit for himself. And for those who got the opportunity to visit Prof in his private quarters in the castle, you knew that if Prof offered you a drink and you said you wanted a drink, Prof would go open the fridge himself and come and serve you. And then you'd be holding the can of Coke and wondering whether you should drink it or you should just take it home with you. But that was Prof. Even after Prof's death in 2012, his influence on my life and work has continued. The lessons he taught me, the values he instilled in me, and the vision he shared with me continue to guide my decisions and actions. Before I end this lecture, I would like to recount my last meeting with him. Even after Prof's death in 2012, his influence on my life and work has continued. The lessons he taught me, the values he instilled in me, and the vision he shared with me continue to guide my decisions and actions. Before I end this lecture, I would like to recount my last meeting with Prof. This was a couple of months before he passed on. With the help of Colonel Atachi and Colonel Lawson, I had managed to sneak past Mr. Martin Newman and Mr. Bebaku Mensah, the two tigers at the door. So I used to deal through Colonel Atachi and Colonel Lawson and get in there and make my request, and then Prof would call Mr. Newman and he would wonder, how did you get in here? So anyway, additional resources for the NCC election year activities. I met Prof in a very sad mood. He was not happy. He talked to me about very vicious media attacks, some from people who knew him better. And I said, oh, Prof, but you shouldn't be listening to the media or reading this stuff. And you need to detach completely. I then added that they would only appreciate you when you're gone. Tributes Prof received, submitted by some of the very same people we had discussed, attacking him in the media shortly before he died. And I learned a huge lesson. To serve well in public service, you must do right by God, by conscience, and by the law. Prof received, submitted by some of the very same people we had discussed, attacking him in the media shortly before he died. I learned a huge lesson. To serve well in public service, you must do right by God, by conscience, and by the law. You must be ready to suffer the attacks of people from the lenses of current affairs. But you must be certain in the knowledge that history will always vindicate the just. I held these lessons closely in my time. As I conclude these reflections on Professor John Evans Atta Mills, the man president, I am struck by the timeless relevance of his example. In a world that often seems to reward cynicism over idealism, self-interest over service, and division over unity, Professor Mills's life stands as a beacon of what is possible when leadership is rooted in character, guided by principle, and dedicated to the common good. One of the most remarkable aspects of Prof's life was its integration. Prof was not three different people, the man, the teacher, and the president, but one person whose character, values, and principles remained consistent across all roles and contexts. The humility that characterized him as a man informed his approach as a teacher and shaped his style as president. This integration is perhaps Prof's most important lesson for all of us, but especially for young people who are still forming their identities and choosing their paths. Prof showed us that for young people, it is important to pursue excellence. We must also commit ourselves to continuing his work. This is not just the responsibility of those who knew him personally, but of all Ghanaians and all Africans who share his vision of a better future. For young people, it is important to pursue excellence in your education and your work, to seek out mentors and to be willing to learn, to take advantage of opportunities to serve others, and commit yourself to building the kind of society that Professor Mills envisioned. For leaders at all levels, it is important that we invest in young people, that we create opportunities for their development and advancement, that we lead with integrity and humility, and to remember that leadership is ultimately about service, not privilege. For all of us, we need to embody the values that Professor Mills exemplified: honesty in our dealings, compassion in our relationships, excellence in our work, and service in our communities. Professor Mills once said that my doors are always open. We'll make sure to provide the resources and make the necessary contacts. As a government, we will give you the fullest support. These words capture the essence of his approach to leadership and mentorship throughout his life. Even in death, Prof's doors remain open. His example continues to teach us, his vision continues to inspire us, and his legacy continues to challenge us to be better than we are. He remains our eternal teacher, showing us through his life what is possible when character meets opportunity, when principles guide power, and when service defines success. Prof understood that the ultimate measure of any generation is not what it accomplishes for itself, with the current state of Ghana? I think Prof would be outraged at how we are permitting galamsey to damage our environments, our bodies, and our future. Prof would be sad at the level of lies and vitriol we hurl at each other daily in the media, especially online. The rabid partisanship would probably depress Prof. But Prof would also be happy that his wife, his son, and his family are thriving. They are still standing. Prof would be pleased that many of his are leading in the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary. I think Prof would be happy that his He would be happy that, in spite of the rabid partisanship, our citizens are still engaged and not passive, and our democracy is still growing. Finally, Prof would be happy that, other than a few pockets of unrest, since his departure, there have been two very peaceful and of power democratically in 2016 and 2024. He would be happy that the losing candidates in both elections considered beautifully and put the nation ahead of self. In the sub-region and across the continent, Ghana still stands as a beacon of democracy and peace and is respected globally in the Committee of Nations. Asomdwe would be happy. I end by expressing my immense gratitude to the J.A. Mills Memorial Heritage, who for the past 13 years have organized this annual lecture in honor of a truly great soul and for giving me the honor of a lifetime by selecting me as a keynote speaker for today. May we all be worthy of Prof's trust. May we be faithful to his example, and may we be tireless in continuing the work that Prof started. May the memory of Professor John Evans ATTA Mills forever be a blessing and a call to service. Thank you.
Meaningful.
First of all, could we have another round of applause for our keynote speaker, Madam Charlotte Osei? Thank you so much for such an intimate and personal account of your relationship with President Mills. And I'm sure we all are going to be reflecting on the anecdotes and lessons learned that you shared with us. Once again, thank you so much, Madam Charlotte Osei. Another round of applause for her. And thank you to the Harmonious Chorale for performing the President ATTA Mills song. So, using a familiar tune but with different lyrics. And Mr. Chairman, before we take your closing remarks, we have a special request that has come in. So I crave your indulgence for us to do this quickly before you take the stage. Now, I'm reliably informed that President Mills had a favorite hymn. And I'm sure the Methodists in this room will know this hymn, Begone Unbelief. Are we familiar with the tune? Some are not. We'll do our best to just do a couple of verses of Begone Unbelief in honor of President Mills. So this is a special request once again. If you do know the song, please do join us to sing it. And please sing with fervor. our chairman, the Chief of Staff, Honorable Julius Deborah, to give us his closing remarks. Please welcome him with a round of applause.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, and friends of the media, at the back of the brochure of the late President, His Excellency John Evans Fifi Atta Mills, were these words captioned, "The everlasting message. I came to serve. I have finished my time here on earth and have moved on to everlasting rest and celestial duties with my Heavenly Father. As you live through these pages of my life story, I pray to God that it may touch you in many positive ways." Today we have flipped through another chapter of his legacies. We have traced his exploits and handiworks in leadership, governance, academia, sports, and family. We have also learned even more revealing factors that drove his vision and mission for our country, Ghana, specifically in the Fourth Republic. Our distinguished speaker has made her mentor and teacher proud. She has eloquently captured the contribution of the late president in shaping Ghana's constitutional and moral landscape through her theory, The Man, the Teacher, and the President. Professor Mills left an indelible mark on Ghana's Fourth Republican landscape through his Better Ghana agenda and his calm yet strong, ethical and peace-loving leadership style in the face of a divisive multi-party system. His personality soon became a peace and stability symbol for Ghana, and by extension, a shining example for many African leaders and countries. What is unique about our speaker's exposition is how she uses Prof. Mills's iconic journey through the Fourth Republic to advise our youth. To our youth here, you are encouraged to prepare and persevere. Remember that effective leadership requires both vision and pragmatism. I wish to thank our speaker for such a brilliant account on her mentor and teacher. I also thank the chairman and his advisory team for their consistency in shaping our generation and those unborn through these annual lectures. It has indeed been such an honor chairing the 13th lecture in memory of President Mills. I hope that you have been inspired, motivated, and challenged to do more for humanity, our country, and our continent. I thank you all for coming.
Many thanks again to our chairman. Another round of applause for him. Please permit me, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, to make this urgent announcement. And please, this is very important. We have a mother with an autistic child who has been waiting to leave. Unfortunately, there are 2 vehicles that are blocking her. This is a matter of urgency. So please, if these are your vehicles, we need you to go outside immediately to move them. A greenish-grayish Hyundai. The license number is GS 1190-20. Again, GS 1190-20. If that's your vehicle, it is a Hyundai, a greenish-grayish in color, a silver Hyundai. The registration is GT 469514. Again, GT 469514. These 2 vehicles need to be moved urgently, please. Again, this is a mother who is anxiously of urgency. Please move your vehicle immediately. Thank you very much. And now I'll invite to give us the vote of thanks Daniela Mavis Matthias, who is a member of the JEA Mills Memorial Heritage. Please welcome her with a round of applause.
Good evening, Her Excellency, my Vice President, your Vice President, our Vice President, and the first female Vice President of the Republic of Ghana, Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman. Please, I want to hear some. Mr. Chairman, Madam Guest Speaker, all protocol duly observed. On behalf of the Board of Directors of the JEA Mills Memorial Heritage, we give special thanks to God Almighty for His grace and mercies. Special thanks goes to Mrs. Charlotte Kerstin-Smith Osei for your eloquent tribute to Professor John Evans Fifi Atta Mills. Your presentation resonated deeply with all of us. Your words were a testament to your admiration for his enduring leadership and legacy. Madam, thank you. To the esteemed chairman, Honorable Julius Deborah, your contribution to this event has been invaluable. Thank you, Chief. Thank you. Okay. Special thanks to Mrs. Charlotte Kerstin Osei for your eloquent tribute to President John Evans Fifi Atta Mills. Your presentation resonated deeply with all of us. Your words were a testament to your admiration for his enduring leadership and legacy. To the esteemed chairman, Honorable Julius Deborah, your contribution to this event has been invaluable. We thank Vice President, Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman for the honor of her august presence. To our viewers on various networks, we appreciate your engagement and support. We are grateful for your interest in this event. Finally, to everyone who attended to this program, we thank you for your presence and contribution. Neyiwaladon. May God bless all of us and grant us a safe journey back home. Thank you, and may God bless Ghana. Good evening.
Thank you very much, Daniela. It is now time for our closing prayer. We'll invite Imam Abdallah Shuaib to do the honors. Please welcome him with a round of applause as he makes his way to the stage.